Before we begin, be warned this video will include spoilers. This video is the third in a series of franchise reviews covering the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you haven't already watched the previous two videos, where I reviewed the films of Phase 1, I suggest you do so before watching this video. While the Avengers marked the end of Phase 1, this was just the beginning of the MCU.
What is Phase 2?
Given Iron Man had kicked off Phase 1, and by extension the entire MCU, Marvel chose to begin Phase 2 with Iron Man 3. I already devoted an entire video to Iron Man 3, so I'll try not to repeat myself too much here. It made sense for Marvel Studios to choose their most well-established character to launch the second phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This was an interesting point in the franchise's history. While Phase 1 had done a fantastic job establishing the various characters and their worlds, Phase 2 then had to expand those worlds and keep it all moving forward. Much like The Dark Knight Rises, released the previous year, Iron Man 3 focused more on Tony Stark than Iron Man. In doing so, the film asked the question, is Tony still a hero without his armour? Interestingly, Steve Rogers had essentially asked that exact question in The Avengers.
Big man in a suit of armor. Take that off, what are you?
Iron Man 3 officially takes place in December 2012, meaning that, in-universe, it had only been a matter of months since aliens attacked New York City.
Listen, the Pentagon is scared. After New York, aliens, come on.
Tony's internal struggle following the events of the Avengers therefore makes perfect sense. Until recently, he had always been the centre of his own world. However, he had suddenly been confronted with the reality that he is just one small part of a massive universe.
Nothing's been the same since New York.
Oh, really? Well, I didn't notice that at all.
You experience things, and then they're over, and you still can't explain them. Gods, aliens, other dimensions. I'm just a man in a can.
Iron Man 3 finds Tony at his lowest point.
I'm the best.
The film strips him of nearly everything familiar, leaving him vulnerable. He is constantly on the back foot or at some disadvantage throughout. Tony is finally forced to face the consequences of his actions. Don Cheadle was given more to do as War Machine, who in this film was rebranded Iron Patriot, essentially a hybrid of Iron Man and Captain America. The rebrand is pretty much treated as a joke throughout the film, and hasn't been mentioned since.
If I was building Iron Man and War Machine,
It's Iron Patriot now.
that's way cooler.
No, it's not.
Even out of the armour, Rhodey easily holds his own alongside Tony.
You see that? Nailed it.
Yeah, you really killed the glass.
Like I was aiming for the bulb. You can't hit a bulb at this distance.
Gwyneth Paltrow's Pepper Potts was also given a more active role in this film. In fact, Pepper is the one who dispatches the film's antagonist, Aldrich Killian. Guy Pearce gave a strong performance as Killian. However, his villain was somewhat overshadowed by the film's controversial portrayal of Iron Man's comic book nemesis, the Mandarin.
My name's Trevor Slattery.
What are you? What are you, decoy? You're a double, right?
Well, I mean, not understudy, no, absolutely not. Don't hurt the face, I'm an actor.
You got a minute to live. Fill it with words.
Just a role. The Mandarin, see, it's not real.
The Mandarin's presence in the MCU had been hinted at since the first Iron Man. Many viewers, understandably, felt cheated by the twist.
This is the Mandarin?
I know, it's embarrassing.
Personally, I liked it. It was unexpected and effectively tied into the film's theme of identity. The studio did later attempt to walk back the reveal with the Marvel one-shot All Hail the King.
You see, there's somebody who wants to meet you.
Do I know him?
No. But you took his name, and now he wants it back.
In 2019, it was announced that Tony Leung had been cast as the real Mandarin, and that he would appear in the upcoming film Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Iron Man 3 also introduced the MCU's Commander-in-Chief, US President Matthew Ellis, played by William Sadler. The character was named after comic book writer Warren Ellis, author of the Extremis storyline on which Iron Man 3 is loosely based. Sadler later reprised the role in both Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the WHIH Newsfront web series. Jon Favreau chose not to direct Iron Man 3, though he did return as Happy Hogan.
Hello?
Is this for head of security?
What? You know, look, I got a real job. What do you want? I'm working. I got something going on here.
The film was instead directed by Shane Black, which explains why it takes place at Christmas. This change helped keep things fresh while still feeling somewhat familiar. Black reportedly wanted to incorporate elements from the Demon in a Bottle storyline. However, Disney, who had acquired the distribution rights from Paramount Pictures, vetoed this. This was the first Iron Man film to not feature the music of AC/DC. Brian Tyler took over as composer and wrote a brand new theme for the character. Tyler also composed a groovy rendition for the closing credits, which run over a montage of footage from all three Iron Man films. Tyler's music was notably different from both Ramin Djawadi and John Debney's scores, but still suited the character and worked well for this film. If you've ever wondered why Tony's surgery at the end of the film takes place in China, it ties into the Chinese release of the film. This version included 4 minutes of additional material, expanding the role of Wang Zhiqi's Dr. Wu, who only appeared briefly in the international cut. These scenes also included Fan Bingbing, who, the following year, portrayed the mutant Blink in X-Men Days of Future Past. If you're worried there are 4 minutes of Marvel gold out there which you haven't seen, don't be. By all accounts, the extra scenes are awkwardly shoehorned in and overtly pander to Chinese audiences with intrusive product placement. This film brought Downton Abbey into the MCU.
Sunday nights PBS, Downton Abbey. That's a show. He thinks it's elegant.
Funnily enough, its inclusion actually reinforces the film's 2012 setting, as the episodes seen in the film first aired in the US earlier that year. Of course, it would have been more appropriate to use the festive-themed special, Christmas at Downton Abbey. Extremis was used as part of the Centipede project in the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which began airing in 2013 after the release of Iron Man 3.
Extremis. It's new. Completely unstable.
This was the first MCU film to not directly foreshadow an upcoming release in its post-credits scene. Instead, the scene revealed that Tony's narration throughout, seemingly directed at the viewer, was actually him recounting the events to Bruce Banner, with Mark Ruffalo reprising the role in an uncredited cameo.
I'm sorry. I'm not that kind of doctor. I'm not a therapist. It's not my training.
So?
I don't have the
What, the time?
temperament.
Iron Man 3 serves as a solid conclusion to the trilogy and an exciting start to Phase 2. The final line mirrors the iconic ending of the first film, now with new meaning.
You can take away my house, all my tricks and toys. One thing you can't take away? I am Iron Man.
Phase 2 saw Marvel begin putting out 2 films per year. The second release for 2013 was the much maligned Thor: The Dark World. This film is often found at the bottom of MCU ranking lists. Personally, I've never fully understood that negativity. It's no secret the film suffered various production difficulties. Kenneth Branagh chose not to direct the sequel due to Marvel's strict schedule. Instead, the studio brought on Patty Jenkins, who later directed Wonder Woman for DC. However, Jenkins left the project due to creative differences. Ultimately, The Dark World was directed by Alan Taylor. It is interesting to speculate how things might have been different for Marvel and DC had Jenkins stayed on as director. The film initially picks up almost immediately after the events of the Avengers. The trial of Loki was partially inspired by Marvel's Thor the Dark World prelude comic.
Enough! I will speak to the prisoner alone.
I really don't see what all the fuss is about.
The entire main cast of Thor returned for the sequel, allowing the opportunity to further develop the characters and their relationships. The Dark World continued to develop Chris Hemsworth's look as Thor. The actor actually grew out his hair this time instead of wearing a wig as he had on the first film. The sequel reunited Thor with Jane Foster.
Jane.
Sorry, I just needed to make sure you were real. It's been a very strange day.
By the way, that slap was genuine. This time their roles were reversed, with Jane being taken to Asgard.
We have to do that again. Hi.
Welcome to Asgard.
To her credit, the astrophysicist adapts to her new surroundings surprisingly well.
That's a quantum field generator, isn't it?
It's a soul forge.
Does the soul forge transfer molecular energy from one place to another?
Yes.
Quantum field generator.
Natalie Portman famously disliked working on this film, as she had been excited to work with Patty Jenkins. Idris Elba also disliked working on the film, even describing it as torture. Nevertheless, both actors gave commendably strong performances. Given Loki's popularity following the release of The Avengers, the filmmakers attempted to make him a more morally ambiguous character rather than a straight-up villain.
You know full well it was your actions that brought you here.
My actions. I was merely giving truth to the lie that I'd been fed my entire life, that I was born to be a king.
Tom Hiddleston once again threatened to steal the show.
If you even think about betraying him.
You'll kill me? Evidently there will be a line.
Hemsworth and Hiddleston are great together on screen.
Must have missed something.
I didn't. I'm pressing every button on this thing.
No, don't hit it. Just press it gently.
I am pressing it gently. It's not working!
The Warriors 3 were given less to do in this film. However, their limited presence is most welcome. Zachary Levi replaced Joshua Dallas as Fandral, due to Dallas's commitment to the ABC TV series Once Upon a Time.
Perhaps next time we should start with the big one.
Funnily enough, Levi had been unable to take on the role in the first film due to his commitment to the NBC series Chuck. To date, this was the final big screen appearance of Jamie Alexander as Lady Sif, though Alexander did later appear in 2 episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
You are of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yeah?
I am Lady Sif of Asgard. Your world is in grave danger.
Sif's unrequited feelings for Thor were made more evident in this film.
Take a drink with me. Surely the All-Father could have no further task for you tonight.
Oh, this is one I set myself.
It does not go unnoticed that you disappear each night. There are 9 realms. Future King of Asgard must focus on more than one.
I was incredibly excited when it was announced that Christopher Eccleston would play the film's villain. I, of course, knew him as the 9th Doctor in Doctor Who.
I'm the Doctor, by the way. What's your name?
Rose.
Nice to meet you, Rose. Run for your life.
Unfortunately, Malekith is a pretty one-dimensional character. Eccleston, like Portman and Elba, vocally disliked working on the film, in particular the lengthy makeup process. True to its name, The Dark World is a darker film than its predecessor. The death of Thor's mother Frigga, played once again by Rene Russo, is particularly emotional. Odin, Thor, and Loki are all devastated by her loss, but each show it in their own unique way. Thankfully, her death was given the gravitas such a moment deserves. However, Loki's supposed death on Svartalheim later in the film was less effective, primarily because it was the character's second fake-out death, and because it was so quickly undone. Even so, you can't help but feel sorry for Thor.
Your brother's not coming, is he?
Loki is dead.
Oh, thank God. I'm so sorry.
Personally, I think this death would have been a satisfying conclusion to Loki's arc.
I'll tell Father what you did here today.
I didn't do it for him.
The film is certainly not humorless. Though it can be surprisingly subtle at times, there are also several overtly comedic moments throughout.
The walls between worlds will be almost non-existent. Physics is going to go ballistic. Increases and decreases in gravity, spatial extrusions. The very fabric of reality is going to be torn apart.
I better get my pants.
Kat Dennings' Darcy Lewis once again provided many of the funniest moments.
Darcy?
Jane!
Here! Sylvie!
Amelia!
Though this was the character's last big screen appearance to date, Dennings is due to return as Darcy in the upcoming Disney Plus series, WandaVision. The Dark World was the first film to solely feature the Marvel Studios logo, following the company's acquisition by Disney. The film looks great. The London setting helps differentiate the Dark World from its mostly desert-bound predecessor. The sequel is also less earthbound. Asgard in particular feels more real and established. Brian Tyler also composed the music for The Dark World. His score is truly epic. Despite both films releasing in 2013, Tyler's score for The Dark World is completely different from his work on Iron Man 3. Having written two marvelous scores, Tyler also composed the fanfare which accompanied the updated Marvel Studios logo which debuted with this film. The Dark World clearly established the Infinity Stones as the MCU's linking narrative thread going forward. In fact, it was the first film to name them as such on screen.
The Tesseract is already on Asgard. It is not wise to keep two Infinity Stones so close together.
The film's post-credits scene introduced Benicio del Toro as Tanalir Tavan, better known as the Collector. This scene was directed by James Gunn, as it set up his then upcoming film, Guardians of the Galaxy. 2 weeks after the film's release, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. aired the episode The Well, which loosely tied into the events of the film.
You know, it'd be nice if for once, Thor and his people sent down the god of cleaning up after yourself. They probably have a magic broom for this kind of thing.
Much like Ruffalo in Iron Man 3, Chris Evans made an uncredited cameo as Captain America, or rather, as Loki impersonating Captain America.
Perhaps you prefer one of your new companions, given that you seem to like them so much.
Oh, this is much better. Whoa. Costume's a bit much. So tight. But the confidence, I can feel the righteousness surging.
The film's cliffhanger ending wouldn't be resolved for another 4 years.
No. Thank you.
Also, for Thor's return to Earth, Jane was portrayed by Hemsworth's wife, Elsa Pataki, as Portman was unavailable. The Dark World deepened the characters and mythology of its predecessor. The film is certainly not without its problems. However, the things that do work, really work. After a slightly uneven start to Phase 2, at least critically, Marvel released what is widely considered to be one of their very best films, Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Of all the sequels in Phase 2, The Winter Soldier is perhaps the most direct follow-up to the Avengers. The film was directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, more commonly referred to as the Russo brothers. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige was primarily interested in the Russos because of their work on the TV series Community. Feige described The Winter Soldier as a 70s political thriller masquerading as a big superhero movie, just as the first film had been a 40s World War II movie masquerading as a big superhero movie. Having been name-checked in both Iron Man 3 and The Dark World, S.H.I.E.L.D. returned for this film in full force. The film also brought back the World Security Council first seen in The Avengers, and introduced Robert Redford as Secretary Alexander Pierce. Steve Rogers continued to acclimatise to the modern world.
Things aren't so bad. Food's a lot better. We used to boil everything. No polio's good. Internet, so helpful. Been reading that a lot, trying to catch up.
As a fun Easter egg, the contents of his notebook differed from country to country. The film paired Steve with fellow Avenger Natasha Romanoff. Their differing styles make their dynamic very interesting.
You know, it's kind of hard to trust someone when you don't know who that someone really is.
Yeah. Who do you want me to be?
How about a friend?
Well, there's a chance you might be in the wrong business, Rogers.
Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson have a very natural chemistry on screen. Despite them sharing a kiss in order to evade capture, the filmmakers commendably allowed the pair to form a non-romantic bond.
If it was the other way around, and it was down to me to save your life, and you'd be honest with me, would you trust me to do it?
I would now.
The film also introduced a new ally in the form of Sam Wilson, aka Falcon. Anthony Mackie's performance quickly endeared viewers to the character.
Don't look at me. I do what he does, just slower.
Despite taking place 69 years after the events of Captain America: The First Avenger, the two films do share a number of connections. One of the film's biggest reveals, at least for those who weren't familiar with the comics, was the identity of the titular Winter Soldier.
Bucky?
Despite the fact the Winter Soldier kills multiple people throughout the film, including Jasper Sitwell, Sebastian Stan still managed to make Bucky a sympathetic character. The climactic fight between the two former friends is highly emotional.
You're my friend. You're my mission.
Haley Atwell also returned briefly as Peggy Carter. The filmmakers opted to use digital effects to make Atwell appear convincingly elderly. The film also introduced Emily Van Camp as Peggy's niece Sharon Carter, though their familial connection wouldn't be revealed until Captain America: Civil War. Initial plans to also include Jeremy Renner's Hawkeye in the film were ultimately dropped. The Winter Soldier has some terrific action sequences. The film evolved Captain America's fighting style. It really showcased the full extent of his abilities. The reveal that Hydra had not only survived the end of World War II, but had infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. from its inception was genuinely shocking.
For 70 years, Hydra has been secretly feeding crisis, reaping war. And when history did not cooperate, history was changed.
As was the rather unexpected reappearance of Toby Jones as Arnim Zola. S.H.I.E.L.D. had been an integral part of the MCU from the beginning. The organisation had been the connective tissue of Phase 1. Of course, it isn't ever explained why Tony Stark didn't discover this particular dirty secret when he hacked S.H.I.E.L.D. in the Avengers.
I should probably look into that once my decryption program finishes breaking into all of S.H.I.E.L.D.'s secure files.
I'm sorry, did you say...
Jarvis has been running it since I hit the bridge. In a few hours, I'll know every dirty secret S.H.I.E.L.D. has ever tried to hide. Blueberry?
Maybe all the Hydra secrets were kept on a separate network. The Russos did a great job showcasing the impacts of the Hydra uprising on the average member of S.H.I.E.L.D., as well as highlighting those who chose to do the right thing no matter what.
Is there a problem?
Sorry, sir. I'm not going to launch those ships. Captain's orders.
Unfortunately, this was the third MCU film in a row to feature a fake-out death. Each time Marvel cried wolf, it became less effective. While I certainly didn't want to see Nick Fury die in this film, it would have added even more weight. Henry Jackman composed the score for The Winter Soldier. He created a more contemporary sound for the character, while still retaining the heroic flavour of Alan Silvestri's music. Jackman did reuse Silvestri's theme in the opening scene.
On your left.
On my left. Got it. Don't say it. Don't you say
On
it.
your left.
Come on!
Jackman's theme for the Winter Soldier himself is chillingly unsettling. Among those targeted by the Project Inside helicarriers were President Matthew Ellis from Iron Man 3 and Tony Stark. This sequence gave viewers their first glimpse of the refurbished Avengers Tower. The Winter Soldier also included the first on-screen reference to Doctor Strange.
You, a TV anchor in Cairo, the Undersecretary of Defense, a high school valedictorian in Iowa City, Bruce Banner, Stephen Strange, anyone who's a threat to Hydra. Now, or in the future.
Strange would make his big screen debut 2 years later, in the appropriately titled film Doctor Strange. The reveal that Gary Shandling's Senator Stern was in fact a member of Hydra recontextualized the Washington Senate hearing scene from Iron Man 2, retroactively making Tony's behavior more justifiable.
What more do you want? For now!
I tried to play ball with these ass clowns! F*** you, Mr. Stark. F*** you, buddy.
The collapse of S.H.I.E.L.D. obviously had a pretty significant impact on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. However, many, myself included, believe the series actually benefited from the shakeup. Samuel L. Jackson even made a special guest appearance as Nick Fury in the season finale, Beginning of the End. The Bible verse on Fury's headstone is a reference to Jackson's character in Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction.
Ezekiel 25:17. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men.
The Winter Soldier's post-credits scene was directed by Joss Whedon, and gave viewers their first glimpse of twins Pietro and Wanda Maximoff, as well as Baron Wolfgang von Strucker, played by Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Elizabeth Olsen, and Thomas Kretschmann, respectively. These characters would appear more prominently in Whedon's then-upcoming sequel, Avengers: Age of Ultron. The Winter Soldier is a film with a lot of moving parts, that manages to stick the landing and deliver on every level. The studio's next release was, quite literally, out of this world, as Marvel began to embrace the cosmic side of their cinematic universe, with Guardians of the Galaxy. I will be reviewing Guardians of the Galaxy, Avengers: Age of Ultron, and Ant-Man in the next franchise reviews video, so make sure you're subscribed. In the meantime, as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this franchise in the comments. Let me know which of these three films is your favourite and why. If you liked this video, why not give it a thumbs up? Maybe share it with a friend. Or an enemy. Either way, be sure you subscribe and turn on notifications to see more content here on Channel 73.